Now we're going to talk about scientific notation. So, to avoid dealing with very large or very small numbers and having to count a lot of zeros, we write numbers using standard form, which is also known as scientific notation. So, scientific notation means to write numbers as a number between 1 and 10 multiplied by a number or power of 10. So like being multiplied by a power of like 10 to the power of 2, 10 to the power of 3. So it says below is the general form of a number written in scientific notation. So we write it as a times 10 to the power of k, where a is the number between 1 and 10. Okay, and making sure that we can include the number 1. Okay. And we also know that k is an element of the integer set. So that means that k has to be an integer. Okay. So now let's look at some examples. So example 3, they want us to express these numbers in scientific notation. So let's look at A. So we have 426,000. So we need to have a number between 1 and 10. So I'm gonna put my decimal between the 4 and the 2. And I move my decimal to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I move it 5 times. So this in scientific notation will be written as 4.26 times 10 to the power of 5 because you move the decimal to the right 5 times. So now let's look at example B. So as we can look here, we know our in scientific notation, we need to have a number between 1 and 10. So I'm gonna move my decimal to the 9 in between the 9 and the 5. And if I want to take the decimal back to where it was originally, I will go back 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this number in scientific notation is going to be 9.5 times 10 to the negative 5 because I had to go back 5 spaces. Okay. So those are my answers for those two. So make sure you understand that if a number is already between 1 and 10, for example, if we have the number 8.63, it is going to be written as 8.63 times 10 to the power of 0 because you're not moving your decimal. And you need to make sure you keep in mind that 10 to the power of 0, just as anything to the power of 0 is, always equal to 1. So this would be equivalent as saying 8.63 times 1, which we already know is still 8.63, which means that it will be the same number. All right. So now let's look at our last few examples. So example 4, it says to express, simplify and express in standard form. So remember, standard form is A times 10 to the power of K. So what we can do here for example A is we can type this into the calculator. 2.46 times 10 to the power of 5 times 9.7 times 10 to the power of negative 2. And we end up getting 23,862. But remember, they want us to put it in standard form or scientific notation. So we know the decimal has to be between the 2 and the 3. We had to move it 1, 2, 3, 4 places to the right, which means that this will be equal to 2.3862 times 10 to the power of 4. That will be the standard form or scientific notation form of this number. So now let's look at B. So B, we have to divide. So we're going to type in 5.14 times 10 to the power of -8. And then over 3 times 10 to the power of 11. And as we can see, we end up getting a number. And the number that we get is 1.71. And we have some repeated threes. And then you see e to the -19. This is the calculator's way of saying for the e -19, this is the way of the calculator saying that you have times 10 to the power of -19. So if they wanted to rewrite this, this will be 1.713 repeated times 10 to the -19. Now that also means that we will have to move the decimal back to put our answer in standard form. We would have to put it into, or if we wanted to put it in ordinary form, if we were to move this decimal back, you will see that if we move the decimal back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. If we move the decimal back 19 times, you will see that this number is going to get very, 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 very small, meaning that this is going to be approximately 0. Okay, it's going to be approximately 0. So it'll be approximately, we would call it 0 if we were to write it as an ordinary number. But if we write it in scientific notation, it will be written like this. So just make sure you remember that if we have if we have E anything, if we have E7, if I have 2 E7 like that, that means 2 times 10 to the power of 7. Okay? So just make sure you remember that calculator notation. All right. So now let's look at number 5. Number 5, write as an ordinary number. So once again, writing as an ordinary number, that means without scientific notation. So we have 6.2. And that means that our exponent is a positive 3. So that means we move our decimal to the right 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So this is equivalent to 6,200 as an ordinary number. Okay. Part B, if we write this as an ordinary number, we have 7.19. Our exponent says to the -4. So we're going to move back 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So as an ordinary number, this is going to be 0.000719. That is how we write it as an ordinary number. All right, so if you have any questions, please reach out to your teacher and have a great day.